Hi, and welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your sources. Can be articles, research.
Or like today, something really focused, just a single headline.
Exactly. And we dig into them and pull out the most crucial insights for you.
Sort of your direct route to getting up to speed.
Right. Packed with, hopefully, some surprising facts and maybe just enough interest to keep you hooked. Today, we're really zeroing in. Our whole deep dive is built around just one source.
A really potent one, though.
Yes, a headline from the New York Times, literally just published today, July 28th, 2025.
And it reads simply, Trump's Ukraine sanctions deadline.
Just 5 words.
Remarkable, isn't it? Our mission really is to unpack what's potentially layered inside those 5 words.
Even without the full article in front of us.
Exactly. It's kind of an exercise in seeing how much information, how much curiosity can be sparked by something so brief.
Especially when it touches on, global politics at such a critical point. Because you see a headline like that, Trump's Ukraine sanctions deadline, and it just immediately triggers a whole cascade of questions, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You start thinking.
You're not just wondering what happened, but what does it mean? What are the ripple effects?
Right. What does it signal about power dynamics, future moves, all of that?
So yeah, let's try and peel back some of these layers.
Okay.
So looking at this headline again, Trump's Ukraine sanctions deadline. We've got this constellation of terms, right? Each one carrying a lot of weight.
Definitely.
Let's start right at the beginning. Trump. In 2025, you see that name in a foreign policy headline.
It immediately signals something specific.
Right. A very particular, often unconventional approach to international stuff. What's the immediate context or maybe historical baggage that name brings right here?
Well, what's fascinating, I think, is that Trump doesn't just mean the U.S. is involved. It points to a very distinct style of foreign policy.
Okay.
We're talking, a history that often leans towards transactional diplomacy, questioning old alliances.
Sometimes diverging pretty sharply from, say, traditional State Department ways.
Exactly. So a deadline coming from this individual, it suggests potentially a more radical shift in the U.S. stance towards Ukraine.
Not just a continuation of policy.
Probably not. It's not just a standard U.S. action. It feels like a Trumpian U.S. action, which, brings its own set of possibilities
Yeah.
and anxieties, frankly, for allies and adversaries.
That's a really crucial distinction to make. Okay, so how does that implication then connect with the next key term here? Ukraine.
Ah, Ukraine.
I mean, this isn't just any country. It's right at the center of a huge geopolitical struggle.
Precisely. Mentioning Ukraine immediately puts this headline smack in the middle of that ongoing, very volatile conflict with Russia.
Right.
So for anyone following this, it signals that this deadline isn't just about, say, a U.S.-Ukraine relationship in isolation.
Just bigger.
Much bigger. It's about the whole European security setup, the ongoing challenge to, international norms. The stakes are incredibly high.
Because Ukraine's sovereignty, its integrity, it's become symbolic.
Deeply symbolic of a larger sort of ideological clash.
Yeah.
So putting a deadline in this context, well, it suggests an attempt to exert some kind of decisive influence over a very entrenched, very active conflict zone.
Okay, so we have Trump bringing a unique approach, interacting with Ukraine, this major conflict point. That sets a pretty dramatic stage. But the thing that really injects the urgency, that turns it from just an observation into like an event, is that next word, sanctions.
Yes, sanctions.
What's the immediate sort of analytical angle we should take when we see sanctions used right here, right now?
Well, the key question isn't just what sanctions are generally, it's which specific kind are we likely talking about here? And maybe more importantly, what's the strategic goal behind them at this exact moment?
Okay, so possibilities.
Right. Given the conflict, are we thinking targeted financial hits on, say, Russian elites? Or maybe broader sectoral things hitting industries? Or is it about weapons and arms embargo, perhaps?
And critically, are they new?
Exactly. Are these new sanctions? Is it an escalation of current ones? Or, and this is also possible, is the deadline about reviewing them? Or maybe even lifting some?
Wow, okay.
The meaning of a deadline changes dramatically depending on which of those it is, right? Is the U.S. trying to crank up the pressure, force talks,
Yeah.
or actually signal a big policy change?
That's incredibly insightful. So many possibilities packed into that one word in this context.
Yeah.
And then we hit the final word, the one that really makes the headline crackle. Deadline.
Yeah, that changes the whole feel.
It shifts the whole dynamic, doesn't it? What's the immediate implication of putting that kind of time pressure on the situation? What does a deadline really signify in these high-stakes diplomatic games?
Well, a deadline like this in international relations, it's rarely just, a date on a calendar.
It's a signal.
It's a strong signal. It implies a potential point of no return, or at least a moment where a decision must be made. It suggests the current situation, the status quo, is seen as unacceptable somehow.
Or that someone wants a very specific outcome fast.
Right. Diplomatically, a deadline can be a tool, a form of coercive leverage. You're trying to force the other side's hand, compel some kind of action or concession.
So it means significant action, whether imposing sanctions, changing them, maybe a bigger policy pivot, isn't just being thought about.
It's imminent. Or at least that's the message being sent. This isn't passive. It's active. It's time-sensitive. It could be a real inflection point in the conflict.
Okay, so let's piece this all together then. We take the unique approach of Trump plus the high-stakes battleground that is Ukraine, add the strategic tool of sanctions, and then inject the urgency of a deadline. What we're seeing is a picture where a major U.S. figure seems to be actively pushing for a critical, time-sensitive decision about economic or political pressure related to one of the world's most volatile ongoing conflicts.
It's like a compressed snapshot, isn't it, of a moment that could be potentially transformative for international relations.
Exactly. The headline doesn't spell out what the deadline is actually for, but it forces you, the listener, to immediately start thinking about the range of possibilities.
And their potential consequences, which could be huge.
Absolutely. So what does this quick deep dive really mean for you listening? We've just taken this very short headline, Trump's Ukraine sanctions deadline, and used it basically as an analytical launchpad.
Yeah, a prompt.
By breaking down how these terms, Trump, Ukraine, sanctions, deadline interact, you can start building a more nuanced mental map of what's going on.
Recognizing not just the stated facts, but maybe the deeper currents, the implications.
It really does show the value of this kind of thinking, doesn't it?
I think so. Being well-informed isn't just about, collecting facts like stamps.
No.
It's more about building that ability to ask the sharper, more nuanced questions and to connect the dots between different pieces of information.
So when you see news, any news really,
Yeah. Take a beat, break down the key words, think about what they specifically imply in that context, given what you already know.
consider the wider strategic picture.
Right. That kind of critical thinking helps you get the essence of complex stuff pretty quickly and maybe even anticipate what might happen next.
And we want to leave you with a final thought to kind of mull over.
Okay.
Just consider what the very existence of a deadline in something this complex, this international, suggests about the current state of play.
What does it tell us?
What kind of pressure is really being applied here and who is it aimed at? And maybe bigger picture. How do these time-bound pushes, these deadlines,
How do they actually shape the future?
yeah, how do they fundamentally reshape the path of global relations, especially when the clock is ticking on something as impactful as sanctions?
It's definitely something to think about, isn't it? What does that urgency signal about where things might be headed?